Do you find yourself spending way too much time prepping your save file and your storylines and your characters, only to find that months later you still have started playing? I ended up deciding on one thing for me that was truly important that I could also most importantly achieve in one sim session, that I could create in one sim session, and that has helped me move on and actually start playing my save files. It's helped me accept that it's totally okay that a save file isn't going to be perfect right off the bat. And deciding on that one thing is what has helped me to finally start playing a save file that I had literally been preparing for like the last 6 months. First, let me introduce you to the sim I've been trying to play for over 6 months now, Keith Fox. Keith is a sim that I created for Love Finder, a dating site I created for The Sims back in 2023. It's basically just a fun way for me to share sims that I've made with you. Here's his profile. So he's a young adult, he's straight, he's from Copperdale. He is a very nature loving, down to earth, humble kind of guy. You can see that in his quote, life's rhythms beats stronger in the absence of screens. So he's also not quite a technophobe, I would say, but he's definitely more like likes to be disconnected and prefers more organic connections, let's say. He likes to live life without digital distractions. So he's definitely not somebody that would have an account on TikTok, let's say. He loves adventure. So if you read his About Me, he talks a lot about adventure. He likes the simplicity of life. He really values, deep connections. He wants to have, conversations that are meaningful and not surface level. And he talks about the person he's looking for in his life. So basically, he wants to find somebody who's also a dreamer like he is, somebody who also loves music. He's a musician, he loves to make music, and somebody who also just appreciates the small things in life. His dream is basically to build his own ranch, and so he would love to find somebody who is compatible with that dream, likes to get his hands on, and isn't afraid to maybe take risks and do something a bit unconventional. He really loves adventure. That's like capital A, I would say, his number one value. And his favorite memory from childhood is basically every family vacation in Granite Falls. So again, like he has a strong connection with nature and like he likes to hike. He likes to do everything that is outdoors. He loves his guitar. So he's a musician. As I mentioned, he loves to make music. Actually, there's a song linked on his profile. Like it's called like No One's Watching by the Henningsons. It's a really fun song. I don't want to play it here because I don't know if I'd get, striked for copyright, but it's a great song and I think it really expresses Keith's personality. It's very upbeat, fun, and I imagine it's a song that he sings in the shower. It shows also how full of life he is and how positive and optimistic as well. So I obviously already have a rough idea of who Keith is, right? So we have his profile. I know, I created him already, so he has skills and traits and whatnot. I created a profile for him, of course, in the Sim Guardian where I'm able to save all this information. For example, in the notes section, I have that quote that we collected. I have just a couple of notes that I grabbed from his profile. So, of course, that he loves the simple things in life, nature, making music, and living a life far away from digital distractions. And ironically enough, he is on Love Finder and he recently joined Cupid's Corner. So there's a bit of a mismatch there, but he's, of course, still hopes to find that special someone organically. And he actually works part time as a landscaper on the weekends so he can finance his dream of building his own ranch during the week. And also, of course, pursue his musical passion. He wants to find a soulmate. He wants to excel as a musician while avoiding any fame because, like I said, he's more of a behind the scenes kind of guy, not doesn't like to be in the spotlight completely. Like, obviously, there's no way getting around it if you're a musician and you're standing on the stage. But I think he would be totally fine being the guitarist in a band and not even a lead singer. So he's just more about making that music and connecting with the audience and less about the fame, the money, and all that stuff that would maybe come with it if he were to become like uber successful. Nothing wrong with wanting any of those things, but it's just not his vibe. And yeah, really, his dream is to build a ranch. So get hands on, create a life that connects nature with making a living and in a way that he would find very meaningful. So here's some quick information about him. So he lives in the Fox household. He lives in the Nobi cabin. I'll talk more about that soon, about how I decided on all this. Because like I said, it was the issue of also the save file itself. Like, which if you don't have a save file set up yet or known yet, then you don't have a place for your character to live yet either and all that. But he's living on low funds, so he has just a part-time job. He just bought this cabin, so he doesn't have a lot of money to his name. And here is some details. So he is heterosexual, so he's a straight man, so he's going to be looking for a woman. Who knows if that might change in the story, but that's where we are right now. His traits: he's adventurous, he's a music lover, and he loves the outdoors. If you didn't get that yet from his profile, now we have it black on white. Those are his three traits. Like I mentioned, he has a career part-time as a landscaper. So he's a manual laborer. His life goal is to become a musical genius. So his goals are basically surrounded with creating music, listening to music, and all that jazz. He likes backyard music, family motivated Sims. So I can imagine when he's looking for that special someone, if it's something that's family oriented, that would definitely be a positive. And he likes doing all sorts of activities that are outside. And he doesn't like the color white. It's a bit too, I guess, bland to him. He likes more warm things. And I guess he's not a lover of pranks. He has a funny bone, but I guess pranks isn't really how you would get it. And he's part of the Fox Legacy, which I created just for him. So we can actually go to that page. So this is the Fox Legacy, which I founded today, and we don't have a family crest yet for Keith. His story has yet to begin, so that's something I would fill in at a later point. But we've already begun Generation 1 with Keith, of course, and Generation 2 is still, out for grabs because he don't even have a woman yet. So, but it's there as a placeholder to be done when the kid is here. And we have here a little summary. So of course we haven't completed any generations yet. We're on generation 1 right now. And I have our little milestones ticker here. Reach 10 generations in progress. So we're at the very beginning. So yeah, I have a little legacy page for him ready to go. And this is his household page. I'd say this is probably the page I would be on most of the time when I'm actually playing his save file, where I could quickly access him, also quickly create a new memory or snapshot, transaction, whatnot. I could do a lot of that on his page as well. As you can see, I can create an income or expense. And I can create memories within his profile as well, but I personally like to spend time on the household page. And here's the record I use to save everything about the save file I'm actually playing for Keith. It's pretty simple. The name right now, it's Keith's save file. I don't really get too creative with my save file names. I just basically have a save file usually for a certain legacy or like a main legacy or a sim. So in this case, we've just got Keith's save file. We're keeping it simple. Don't have much of a description yet either. Like I said, we're just not getting started. But I wanted to take note that it is a vanilla light setup, so I only have a handful of mods installed. I can't go completely vanilla. It's like impossible. I need MC command. I need, of course, my defaults. There's this home region mod that I have. Like I started just being in the save file for like a hot second, and I saw Sims from different worlds in Moonwood Mill, and I was like, nah. So I needed that mod as well. And just a few other mods that I just can't live without, like mods that improve the graphics and stuff like that. So yeah, we're playing Vanilla Light with Keith, and I decided upon the Beyond Blooming save file by Analea to use as the base for my save file here when I start playing Keith. So it's really been a journey to finally land on this save file and get to a place where I feel ready to start playing it. First, I started actually with a totally different custom save file by Plumbob Kingdom, which is an excellent save file. I wanted to use that as a base. Of course, I still wanted to make the save file my own a little bit. By my own, I mean downloading lots from the gallery that I think are cute. And so I was in the process of doing that, but the game kept crashing when I tried to access certain lots. That was around when the For Rent pack came out, so it like completely broke a bunch of lots in that save file. I then tried in a different custom save file, and so in this one, in the Blooming save file by Analea, and it still kept crashing. Like I kept having issues when placing lots. I had like this infinite loading screen, and so I just completely gave up trying to get it to work, and I completely abandoned the dream of playing Keith's story for the time being. When I finally came back to the save file again, months later, it had been so long that literally a few packs had been released since I started, and there was an updated version of the Blooming save file. So now it's called Beyond Blooming save file. I don't know if they released like 1 or 2 versions after I had started with my first one when I was first like brainstorming Keith's story. But yeah, so that's cool. So now more worlds are filled in since packs have been released. But I also thought like, okay, cool, new save file with like an updated version. But at the same time, I thought, like, I have all these packs, and it's just a shame that I let so much time go by because I had this idea of this perfect save file and these lots that I just had to have in the save file. I just could have been playing all along if I would have just let go of that idea. If I had just given up on placing lots for the time being. Of course, the bugs were still standing in my way in some way. Like, there were literally lots I could not load into. And I guess there was that fear of not being able to load into important key lots. And, once you start playing, it's like, oh, also it's your save file corrupted. So I get where I was coming from, like why I stopped playing also because of those bugs. And luckily, I think most of them have been squashed by now, months later. But if I'm honest with myself, a big reason why I didn't continue playing was because I couldn't place lots that I thought I really needed. And so I totally if could have just accepted that and continued playing. So yeah, that the point is I didn't really need to place all those fancy, gorgeous lots to actually start Keith's story. So now moving forward, instead of spending more time placing lots to make the save file oh so perfect, I have decided to just finally start playing with the blooming save file as it is now. I mean, I'm sure if when another pack, it's not even if, when another pack is released, Analea will be on it and will update the upcoming world and all that. But that's fine. I don't need that, to start playing now. I also don't need really some nice slots that I had found, but I don't need to have them in the save file to start playing. Like, there are plenty of places already that Analea put in that save file for my sim to visit, so the story can continue already. Of course, I still kind of have that FOMO of missing out on all those lots, though, that I had imagined in the save file. Like, it's hard to explain, but whenever I see a home or community lot that I really like, I immediately imagine my favorite Sims using it, or I also imagine the story I might be able to tell about the family that moves in. And if I don't place those lots, I feel like I could forget about those potential storylines and lose them, if that makes any sense. Like, my Sims wouldn't be able to visit the lots like they already kind of have in my imagination. Like, I've already like thought of ways like and reasons they could go, with whom they could go, and how it would like contribute to the story or add more to it. I feel this way about books and movies too. Like, I can't enjoy them all at the same time, obviously. Yeah, instead I just simply create a list of them and I can come back to that list when I have time for the next book or movie. And that's how I've kind of solved the solution of my lots FOMO as well. Basically, I collect properties that spark my interest, that kind of inspire me, where I can see maybe a place for them in later in my save file or for like a different save file, and I collect them in the Sim Guardian in the properties database. So basically, I have a tab also in the properties dashboard just for collected lots. So ones that haven't been associated with a save file yet. And that way they can't be forgotten anymore. I can add notes to those lots. I can indicate which sim they're destined for, or just save them for the sake of saving them. And even if I don't have a story in mind or a save file or a character in mind that I want to use them for, I can still save that lot. And for example, if I found a really cool apartment that would be great for a bachelor, but I don't have a bachelor character yet, but I could see maybe doing a storyline. Like, sometimes these lots inspire whole ass storylines. And so I have a place now where I can finally save that property and where I can easily come back to it later. I can even, save, like I said, notes and stuff like that so they're not lost. And this way, instead of me feeling anxious with all this FOMO, the lots are no longer in my mind swirling around with storylines. They're in the Sim Guardian where they can't take up any more brain space and keep me from feeling like I can't start playing without them, right? So the save file, if it ever really does need property XYZ, it's in the Sim Guardian where I can retrieve the information, and then, I know then the gallery ID or the download link or whatever, and then I can always, place it later. For example, I found this really gorgeous coastal home by Suki88, and I immediately thought of Samantha Jones, which is another sim I've been playing in another save file. She's basically an illegitimate daughter of the king in that save file, and Samantha, she wants to be famous. And the king knows that if she used her true origins to catapult her fame, it could ruin his reputation, right? So this lot, this beautiful coastal home, and 50 grand were the perfect gift to keep her quiet and from spreading the word about his infidelity. And so she gets to live comfortably while pursuing a career as an actress, and he gets to continue, his dishonest lifestyle without it being made public. And so I saved that law in the Sim Guardian with some notes so that the idea would be safe. So this idea of how she's getting this lot and all that stuff, so that would be safe until I had time to actually make it happen. But all that said, Keith still needs somewhere to live, right? So at first, I scouted the Bloom save file for the perfect lot, and I actually found a really nice residential rental that I thought would really suit him. It was very bachelor-esque. It wasn't very connected to nature, but it was definitely, I would say, something I could see him in. But then on YouTube, I came across the absolute perfect lot for Keith. It was an abandoned cabin made by Wolf Extremer. Here, I could 100% see Keith living in this lot. So it wasn't just, oh, any guy could live, like a straight guy I could see living in this lot or on this property. No, this is Keith. This was made for Keith. Wolf Extremer, how did you find out about Keith? But no, it spoke to me and it spoke to Keith. So I knew right then and there, this is the property. So you might have noticed in his profile, he mentioned he wanted to move to Chestnut Ridge to build his ranch, but this property that Wolf Extremer made was actually destined for Moonwood Mill. And I actually thought, okay, this is so much more fitting. Moonwood Mill has that more cozy, small vibe, very much down to earth and in the woods, why couldn't you build a ranch there as well? So I thought this beat down cabin was perfect for just developing into a ranch to get really hands on. So while that residential rental was really cool and very well, furnished and everything, this cabin actually enabled Keith to already start his dream, of building a ranch. And like I said, he's, very nature loving. So I think he would love the whole renovation aspect of this cabin to flip it into a ranch. Also, of course, the world of Moonwood Mill being so cozy and quaint and small, I think it really suited his personality a little bit better than Evergreen Harbor, where the other residential rental was. So I basically added that abandoned cabin. That's all I added and stopped there. And it's the only lot that really matters for the start, right? Where Keith will live. Everything else will fall into place. I'm a game player more than anything, so I don't want to let perfectionism stop me from playing the game anymore. That's the whole point of it all for me. I'm not a builder. I am a storyteller, but heck, if I just wanted to tell stories, I could just write, right? So I want to play the stories. I'm a game player, so it was important to me to just plop that lot down and call it a day. And I can let the lore develop as I go, so I don't need a fully fleshed storyline. So coming back to Keith's profile, I feel like there's still something missing. Like I mentioned, there's that one thing that I feel like needs to be prepared to really start playing a save file without FOMO. So we have, some notes on him. We know his traits. We even know his life goal, his career, some skills that he has. We have, his current project to renovate a cabin. We know his plans. So I even have a little bucket list for him to find someone to share life with. He actually already was on Cupid's Corner, and there's this girl called Sienna who's interesting. So that's great and all, but I still don't feel like this is enough to start a story that'll keep me invested. It may very well be the case once things get going, but there's one thing I do now before starting the save file that gives me a good feeling about starting without having a fully fledged storyline planned out. And that is basically to create the bare bones of my Sim storyline and do the rest as I go with a simple backstory. A backstory is an easy and quick way to create enough storyline to get me started, and it's a place I can build upon as I go. It informs who my Sim is, it gives them a past, it helps them feel more real, and helps me, of course, feel more emotionally invested in their journey right from the start, because I know more about them, who they are, their past, right? It's more than their traits or aspiration could ever do on their own. And their backstory also gives me direction. The backstory lets me know what drives my characters, where they are now in life and where they want to be, and what might be holding them back from achieving that. So, knowing this about my sim helps me make decisions in the game that feel organic to that character, right? So, it helps me make decisions. Period. So I'm not like wondering, what would Keith do now? I know what Keith would most likely do now because when I create a backstory, I choose an Enneagram personality for my sim. And that Enneagram personality informs a lot about how a sim would interact with other people, how a sim would deal with challenges. It tells you what their strengths and weaknesses are. And to help me get this backstory going without spending a bunch of sim sessions creating it, right? I said I found one thing that I can do in one sim session that shouldn't take me too long so that I can actually start playing the game. So I don't want to actually spend now another few months coming up with his elaborate backstory, right? I want to keep it simple, right? Something that is enough information so I can actually know all that I want to know about Keith, right? His motivations, where he's going in life and whatnot, what conflicts he's dealing with. It's quick to reference and doesn't take a lot of my time to make, right? So I created a backstory creator in the Sim Guardian, which is also for free as a template if you want to download it. It's linked in the description below. But basically, it helps me create a backstory on the fly with enough information to give my character purpose and inspire the story as I play. So I just click on this button here. So today we're going to create his backstory together. So I will just add here Keith Fox's backstory. Click here. So here in my backstory creator, I have basically 4 sections. So we have the backstory, where once I start filling in everything in the other sections, it'll actually auto-populate here. So nothing to see on this one here, but on step 1, I select an Enneagram. So an Enneagram is a personality concept. Oh, it says here also it's a model of human personality that describes 9 distinct personality types and their inner relationships. I find it's, for me personally, the one I like the most. There's the MTBI one as well, and there's like Jungian archetypes, all sorts of other like concepts around personality types and how to learn more or how to categorize different personalities. I personally really like the Enneagram one. I feel like it goes a bit deeper than the other ones, and it makes a lot more sense to me. But basically, when I click this button here, it'll randomize an Enneagram personality type. Now, of course, we know a little bit about Keith already, so instead we might just want to view all of the Enneagram types and see which one would make the most sense for him. So here I already have a database with all of the types. So we have performer, helper, achiever, and whatnot, and their different core values, their vices, so basically, their weaknesses, so to say. So I just change the view type real quick. So at first glance, I feel like freedom, joy, exploration might be Keith. It's the enthusiast. Vices would be gluttony, escapism, and impulsiveness. Insatiable desire for more experiences. Constantly seeking new adventures. So I feel like that sounds like Keith. Harmony, peace, acceptance might be. Yeah, I think Keith is an enthusiast. I think that suits him most looking at all these other types. So we're just going to go for enthusiast. It could be individualist as well, though, because he is creative, right? And he's about authenticity and individuality. Experience envy as a longing for what they perceive others have that they lack. Feelings of inadequacy and constant sense of missing something in their lives. So that's another thing, like which of these vices also fits most to him? Because I feel like freedom, joy, exploration is definitely important to him, but I don't feel like he lives like this hedonistic lifestyle where he's like constantly chasing the next thing. He very much knows, like, for himself, he's grounded in the fact that, okay, music, family, nature, like, my ranch, that's what's important to me. I don't think he would build up the ranch and then think, oh, what's the next best thing? I don't think he's like the kind of shiny new thing kind of syndrome kind of guy. So I actually don't know if like impulsiveness is also not his vibe. So maybe individualist creative suits him better. Authenticity, creativity, I think that really speaks to him a little bit more. With the vice, they experience envy as a longing for what they perceive others have that they lack. You know what? Let's go back And we can actually choose here which Enneagram they'll have. So I will choose, what did I say? Individualist. So we'll add that. And I have changed the filter to only show me the card with the name individualist, since that's what we've decided on. And that way I can see all of the information associated with that card. So we have the personality traits: sensitive, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, okay. Emotional depth, that's definitely one of his virtues. Passionate about self-expression, I would say for sure. He's a musician, right? They need to be unique and find their own identity. Okay, often feels misunderstood and being different from childhood. Okay, motivated, that's one thing I really like about the Enneagram personality types. It shows you what the key motivations are and the fears, which really informs how a character behaves, right? So Keith would be motivated by a need to express individuality and uniqueness. Okay. Fears having no identity or personal significance. Deeply afraid of being ordinary or lacking a unique place in the world. Okay, so I mean, they don't want to be famous and everything, but they still do. They do differentiate themselves from the standard, right? By saying, okay, we want to be disconnected. I don't like technology, and so they, I guess, are in that way, maybe subconsciously trying to be individual in that aspect and different from others, but also he just doesn't like distractions, digital distractions. But okay, I think that fits. And in regards to relationships, he would most likely be friends with an investigator type. He would most likely conflict with an achiever type, and he would most likely fall in love with an enthusiast. And so we already know what an enthusiast looks like, right? That was what we were wondering could also be Keith. And so it makes sense that this is somebody he would vibe with, because it seems to also be quite aligned with his personality. So yeah, I've chosen the individualist, the creative. Next step, we want to draw inspiration from the tarot deck to further inspire his backstory. So I'll open this toggle here, and then I'll draw 3 random cards. And as you see, now we have 3 different cards here, all in reverse in this case. 3 different cards that that I can use as a base to inspire the backstory. So I have the different items. So we have meaning, childhood, regret, attachment, and different keywords associated with that different card. And then I could add those cards that were drawn here so that I have them for my reference if I were to ever want to come back to this, because the order in which they're drawn, you'll see, is important for our last step where we actually fill in that backstory. So we have a Hierophant in reversed. We have Wheel of Fortune and 10 of Pentacles. Okay. Wheel of Fortune in reverse, 10 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we saved that, so for our reference, and then we have that again here. Every time I create a new backstory, this will refresh. That's why it's important to save those cards down here. That way I have it specifically for Keith if I ever wanted to reference that. So here we have it. And so now we want to fill in the backstory. So here I can fill in my character's backstory. And first I want to introduce to you the different areas, the different sections that I fill in to inform that backstory. So first, I want to know about Keith's childhood. I want to know about any secrets or regrets Keith has. And I want to know about any attachment Keith has to in this life. So it could be a person, it could be a project, it could be something from his past. And then also any other key elements I might want to refer to about his backstory, if there's anything else that I think is relevant. So first, for childhood, that could be any family dynamics, socioeconomic status, cultural background, significant childhood events. So you might recall from the profile that I had come up with for him on Love Finder, he did mention thinking fondly back about family summer vacations in Granite Falls. So he definitely had a lot of experiences out in the woods, in nature, together with his family, and these are fond memories that he has. So that could be something that could tie into his backstory. We pulled those cards, right? And so as you can see, card one's purpose is to help me inspire information about Keith's childhood. So we can go back here and we check, okay, we got the Hierophant in reverse. What could be the meaning be? So it signifies rebellion, unconventionality, restriction, and I had created prompts with the help of ChatGPT to associate the meaning of the hero font in reverse with those specific sections. So, for example, for childhood, and then since it's in reverse, we have a regret instead of a secret. And then we have an attachment and keywords. So for childhood, which is, for card one, it's about childhood. So we want to only reference this section here. And it says this character likely experienced a childhood marked by rebellion against authority and rigid structures. They may have struggled with conformity or felt restricted by societal norms, leading to challenges in accepting traditional values and a desire to forge their own path, which definitely sounds a lot like Keith. And then for secrets and regrets, we would check card number 2. So that would be Wheel of Fortune, regret. So the character might have been presented with a pivotal moment, an offer, a relationship, a chance to leave their hometown, or an opportunity to follow a dream required them to step out of their comfort zone, but instead of taking a leap, they allowed fear to hold them back. And so that is a regret, or that can inspire the regret I come up with for Keith. And then an attachment, we're being inspired from card 3. And so for card 3, it says an attachment. Their current attachment could be to a situation where they feel financially or emotionally insecure. So they could feel emotionally insecure about this darn cabin they just now bought and the renovations, but they really believe in their dream. Maybe it could be something, or let's just check out again the Ten of Pentacles. It's in reverse. It signifies financial loss, family conflict, instability. So definitely something more negative. Challenges in your financial situation. Yeah, so I would definitely say it's the cabin. So Keith feels burdened by the cabin he has purchased with his last savings. His livelihood and dreams depend on its successful renovation. He has a lot of hopes for this property and what he wants to be his new home, but he can't help but feel anxious about the pressure behind it all. The cabin has already been a huge investment, and with all the renovations needed to get it in renovations needed to make it livable and livable, oh, can't spell, and turn it into the ranch of his dreams. It will take a lot of time and more money. So yeah, okay, that is the attachment, easy peasy. Now to the more trickier parts, his childhood and his regret in this case, because we pulled reverse. So let's go back to childhood. This character likely experienced a childhood marked by rebellion against authority and rigid structures. This could maybe have something to do with his parents, the relationship he had with them. So he did like his family getaways to Granite Falls. Maybe he has like a tech giant kind of father or mother. Maybe they were very much into technology and conformity, societal norms, and accepting traditional values, desire to forge their own path out of established conventions. So what kind of established conventions could his family had? Maybe, or his past, that he would want to push away from. So I mean, today it's a societal norm to be connected to the internet and technology, right? And so he's definitely pushing against that by wanting to distance himself from that. And so maybe he had a very even though they did their summer vacations, maybe the summer vacations they had in Granite Falls was the only respite he had from maybe an otherwise very technologically heavy childhood. Maybe but pushing against authority or rigid structures. I'll come back to that. So To number two, card two, regrets. So, what was the inspiration there? Your character might have been presented with a pivotal moment, offer a relationship chance to leave their hometown. So, it's basically they had a chance to make a change, but they were too scared. And so they ended up not doing that, not taking some form of leap or risk, and they regret not doing that. So maybe that's why Keith now made that jump. He was like, you know what, I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to take that leap. And so now he's decided to actually do this ranch thing with his cabin and, spend all his savings on it. Maybe it had to do with music. Maybe he had a chance to pursue music, but he felt scared to do so because, it's not that lucrative. Chance to leave their hometown, opportunity to follow a dream. Maybe he had an opportunity to become a musician, like a more wide scale one. Maybe some sort of like travel opportunity to maybe like a vagabond kind of thing. But they're very much used to that whole small town vibe, and they haven't been to a lot of places, or let's say unfamiliar places, and so they were not yet at a place where they felt confident to travel to pursue their career in music. And so instead, they stayed home and they didn't pursue that opportunity. So maybe they feel regret about that. And so it says resistance to change, bad luck, misfortune, setback, struggle. So let's say that. Keith regrets not pursuing or not taking on an opportunity to maybe like as an opening band, to be the opening band or the opening act for a maybe it was like a not a big time thing, for a traveling tour. um Yeah, the pay would have been low, I guess, and he would have had to travel. He is from a small town and didn't feel comfortable um, leaving everything behind for a dream he felt like he couldn't dream, so to say, right? Like he couldn't, a dream that he felt could never, yeah, a dream he felt could never come true. He felt could never come true yet. Yeah, let's just do something like that. It's a bit sparse, but gives us a little bit of background. And then, and that's why also he is like, F it, I am not going to let any discomfort or worry hold me back. I'm going to just do this with his cabin, right? It's that past regret that keeps him going and lets him know, no, you know what? I am on the right path. This dream is worth dreaming, and I'm going to make this happen. I'm not going to have another regret. And so with his childhood, yeah, I'm stuck there. So we will now go to my AI prompts. So I've already filled in some of the, so basically here it prompts you to fill in your character's name, their traits and whatnot, and also add the different cards that you pulled and indicate the different positions those cards were. And this is a prompt I can just pop into ChatGPT and use to help me brainstorm what those aspects of Keith's childhood could be. And it'll actually be interesting to see what it pops out, because it'll be different, of course, than what I've already brainstormed for secrets and regrets and for the attachment. So I will do that right now. Okay, I really like what ChatGPT came up with for his childhood. So it says he grew up questioning traditions, feeling stifled in a rigid household that discouraged self expression. His family was conservative, valuing stability over creativity, which left him longing for a freer, more open lifestyle. This upbringing fueled his adventurous spirit as he constantly sought an escape from imposed norms. So that makes sense. This is what ChatGPT came up with for regrets. So it says he regrets not seizing an opportunity to explore music seriously when he was younger. This missed chance left him feeling a bit unfulfilled, and now he doubts his ability to create meaningful work. This lingering regret often dampens his adventurous pursuits, making him hesitant to take risks in his creative endeavors. So we started the same. So basically, he regrets not seizing an opportunity to explore music. But I feel like this is a regret that actually fuels his passion for adventurous pursuits, because he learned from that mistake and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let something uncomfortable, or just because something's uncomfortable, I'm not going to let it stop me from going after what I really want and what I believe in. So I actually don't think it makes him hesitant. I think it's the exact opposite. So I will not take that, and I prefer what I came up with. And this is what ChatGPT came up with for the attachment. So it says, Keith is deeply attached to the idea of building a close-knit, unconventional family of like-minded individuals. Though he longs for genuine connection, his past makes him wary of traditional family structures. He's striving to find people and build a life fulfilled with freedom and authenticity, hoping to escape the constraints he grew up with. So I think that's interesting. Him also being in Moonwood Mills, we know there's like the werewolves and everything, where community is important. And I feel like he would want to find his tribe. So I think that's interesting. Though I think his current attachment, also in regards to the meaning of that card, it being reversed and everything, lost and everything, I think it makes more sense that he feels burdened by the cabin, and that it kind of, on the one hand, he's like, oh, shoot, what kind of decision did I make here? But of course, like I said, no regrets, YOLO. So he doesn't want to let that stop him. But at the same time, it is a real, burden. It's a true financial risk he's taking. And so he acknowledges that even though he's 100% sure he wants to pursue this, he still is, there's still something that he has to lose. But I find it interesting that he's attached to the idea of building a close-knit community. So, I will keep that, just because I find it'll help me come up with ideas for his relationships and what's important to him there. But actually, I will put that in key elements instead, because I don't think that's something I want associated with necessarily with his attachment. I'll say Keith wants to build a close knit, striving to find his people. Okay, yeah, I think that we'll put that in key elements. And so that's basically a space where I've created for anything that doesn't pertain to any of this. Like, you might already have a rough storyline for this guy, and this gives you space to add that backstory. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Yeah, I think that's enough to build a story. I might tickle a little bit more out of ChatGPT for the child. Just give me a sec. Okay, so I wanted to tickle more out of ChatGPT in regards to why he doesn't like technology. And so here, ChatGPT told me, as a child, Keith's family relied heavily on technology to track achievements, enforce rules, and monitor his actions. His parents set up strict rules on digital devices, using apps to limit his time outdoors, and even tracking his school performance through online portals. This constant monitoring left Keith feeling trapped and disconnected from real experiences, building a deep resentment toward technology. Now he views the digital world as a symbol of control and restriction, and he prefers to avoid it, choosing instead to live freely and without the digital ties he associates with his restrictive childhood. I like that. So it ties in with, how his childhood, like why he maybe really loved being in Granite Falls, because it seems like it was the only opportunity for him to really be away from the digital world, because, maybe the Wi-Fi was really bad there. And so I like that. So I'm going to keep that in there. And so now we have his backstory all filled in, and you'll see when I navigate to his backstory here, you'll see we have the personality type we chose, and we have all of that information that we just now collected, all summarized nice and neat. And you'll find this very backstory on his profile page as well. So I can always refer back to that if I want to understand or inspire the next step in his story. I know, okay, well, his childhood and his secrets and regrets, attachment and stuff like that. So I can refer back to that, and that can inform the story moving forward. So yeah, now I feel like I know enough about Keith to let the rest of his story evolve as I play. And also, you don't have to fill in everything about the backstory if you don't want to. Like, I can decide to change things even later on. Yeah, I am the watcher after all. But this is just enough to make me feel confident about moving forward. And yeah, I can always, add more to it or change it as I go. If you'd like to use the Backstory Creator for your own Sims as well, I left a link in the description where you can download the Notion template absolutely for free. You're welcome to sign up to my newsletter as well, the Llama letters, for weekly inspiration. But there's no obligation for you to do so if you just want the template. I hope it helps you create a backstory for your Sim in a Jiffy as well, and also helps you feel like you can move on and actually start playing your save file and not just work on planning it and prepping it, all that stuff. And so that you can just finally start playing, right? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Till next time, stay sentimental.